Get this. All right, all right, all right. Shalom, 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 shalom. Get this up in here. All right, all praise, honor, glory to the Most High. Hey, can you do me a favor? That, yeah, that's shade is like leaning in. We the children of the light, man, but that's a little too bright. Too bright. All right, all praises, man. Shabbat shalom. Happy new moon to the brothers and sisters that's online on the chat, brothers and sisters in the house. Shabbat shalom to everybody. Brother Jason, shalom to you. Sister Denise, shalom. Kohath, shalom to you. The House of Byron, shalom to y'all. And anybody and everybody else that's going to be joining us, Shabbat shalom, happy new moon, or checking it on a later date, shalom. But nonetheless, it is that time to give our closing Sabbath class here at MOTC. And as you can see, the title of the class is going to be the greatest quote unquote cover up ever told. No pun intended. The greatest cover up dealing with true Black history. All right, we're going to talk about and get into the Dark Ages today. We're going to get into a lot of the medieval uh, paintings and depictions of our people. Many of y'all have seen these things before. Some you may not have. Looking to get some insight for brothers and sisters who's looking for the truth. All right, and that's what we're here to deliver. And you know, we get plenty of Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Sojourner Truth. You know, Harriet Tubman. We get all of that this month. All right, but and that's kind of salute to our elders, patriarchs and matriarchs. But that's played out. We got to get to some real meat when it comes down to history. So we're going to be covering um, close to around 400 years plus of history and legacy of our people during the times of British royalty, monarchy, Russia, uh, Poland, um, where else? I mean, all over the place. I mean, we're going to reveal and show some real artwork and real depictions. You know, most scholars and archaeologists will admit that the best primary source when you're looking for history is based upon pottery, um, artwork. These are the primary things that help depict and solidify history. So let's go to Second Corinthians, 13. Let's go there first. 2 Corinthians 13, and we're going to see what qualifies this to be true. When we say true Black history, um, it's got to be solidified according to the scriptures, right? So 2 Corinthians 13, read verse 1.
The book of Second Corinthians, chapter 13, verse 1. All the saints salute you.
2 Corinthians 13 and 1.
Oh, Salakia. 13. Verse 1. This is the third time I am coming to you in the month of 2 or 3 witnesses.
In the what?
In the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses.
Okay.
Shall every word be established.
So according to the law and according to the word of the Most High, at the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, everything is going to be established. That's according to Deuteronomy, the 17th chapter. And that's the law, right? But we're going to have more than 2 or 3 witnesses to establish the truth. You know, as much as the naysayers, man, you got so-called Black Christians running around here talking about, oh, that doesn't mean that because it said it's Black. That just means that they were, that's their hair color. Or that just means the state of being that they were in. That didn't mean that that's actually that. I mean, our people are so cooned out, man, that they don't want to even embrace the expansion of the knowledge of the history of where our people were. When we're reading about our people being scattered throughout the 4 corners of the earth, give me that in Deuteronomy 28, I believe it's 64. When we're talking about a diaspora, and our people are so locked down in their minds that they want to still subjugate us to just being in Africa or just being here in America. They don't want no parts of realizing you've got a vast history in Europe, in Asia. Our people is all over the earth. And why would you sit back and make excuse to say, no, that couldn't have been us? Oh, King James couldn't have been Black. No, that doesn't make sense. Everything the master told me doesn't add up to being that maybe he actually was melanated. Maybe you got various key figures. Constantine. Oh, maybe he was. No way. I wasn't taught that by the white man. The schools didn't tell me that. This is why we got to continue on and search and get out the truth. Because our people will sit back and just believe anything and everything that gets handed to them. The next thing I want on Proverbs 14:15. But read that in Deuteronomy 28:64.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 64. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people, from the one end of the earth even unto the other.
So our footprints are scattered throughout the four quarters of the earth, from one end of the earth all the way to the other. You're going to find remnants and relics that relegate our presence in these places. Read.
And there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone.
And in those places, we continued on in sin, following after idol worship and false deities and gods, right? Proverbs 14:15. Let's read that. Going to be heavy imagery and artwork, paintings, and archaeology and reading today from various sources. So strap in, Israel. Strap in today. All right, go ahead. Proverbs 14:15.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 14, verse 15. The simple believeth every word, but the prudent man looketh well to his going.
Right? The prudent man is going to look well, going to keep looking into studying and trying to find out the truth. The simple is going to believe every word. White man call you black. Oh, okay, I'm black, boss. Oh, you colored. Oh, I'm colored now. Okay, no, you're African American. Oh, African. No, Afro American this time. Negro. Oh, Negro. You call me Afro American. You see how many times the names have changed, man? We just go along with the stuff. You guys came from Africa, and that's really it. Well, why are you only giving us damn near the third leg of the story? You know, A, B, C. Oh, we're getting C right now. What happened to B and A? I mean, what are you talking about? There's vast amounts of history. Give me same Proverbs. Give me 25:2. Vast amounts of history that they're not going to give us in our shortened month. You know, they give us this so-called Black History Month, and we always and everybody always makes notice that it's the shortest month of the year. You know, and then they go back and say, "Well, you get Juneteenth too, niggas. Calm down. We're going to give you another little piece of history and tell you about how in Texas you finally, got liberated." No, stop the madness, man. That's right. That's right. The alphabet group, they always find a way to squeeze their little narrow butts inside everything that we do. Civil rights, oh, we're part of that too. Juneteenth, oh, we're going to share that month with you too. Can't nothing be sacred for us. Go ahead. 25:2.
Book of Proverbs, chapter 25, verse 2.
Mm-hmm.
It is the glory of God to conceal a thing, but the honor of kings is to search out a matter.
You see that? It's the honor of kings to search out a matter. The prudent man is going to look well into what's going. It's the glory of the Most High to conceal a thing, right? But our job is to go out there, find it out, and search it out and get the truth out of it. Give me Daniel 2:27. Daniel 2 and verse 27.
The book of Daniel, chapter 2, verse 27.
Mm-hmm.
Daniel answered in the presence of the king and said, the secret which the king hath demanded cannot the wise men, the astrologers, the magicians, the soothsayers show unto the king. But there is a God in heaven that revealeth secrets, and maketh known to the king Nebuchadnezzar what shall be in the latter days.
You see, so when Nebuchadnezzar wanted to get a revealing of the dream that he was having, they said all the soothsayers and magicians, they couldn't figure it out. He said the secret things only the Most High will show and reveal. So when the Spirit of the Lord was resting upon, the men that made these pictures and depictions, and you had elders that was before me that I learned from regarding the dark age history. These are all secrets, man, that the Most High had to reveal to the men of the Lord so that it can be shown to his people in these latter days. People can talk all they want to about, you One West campers and this, that, and the third. 99.9% of these people, man, would not have knowledge of any of this history, man, if the spirit wasn't on these brothers, man, to bring out this information. When brother, uh, one of my elders that passed away, Ibar, was cold with the history. Ibar Yala, he was cold with this dark age history. Another brother died. I used to watch. They had public access. Brother Yeshaya out of One West UPK back in like '95. I'm watching public access TV. They used to play their videos on public access TV. A lot of y'all don't know what I'm talking about. You know, aging myself and anybody else. You know, y'all know you had cable back in the day. They had a public access channel. We should do cable shows on there, teaching the truth on there. But they should play UPK videos out here. And Elder Yeshaya used to have these dark age classes. Another brother, I believe, is named Kazak. He used to do them too. I used to watch them shows, man, learning a lot from the brother. They used to blow my mind, pulling out stuff that I for sure was not taught in school, and it was held as a secret. You know, and the so-called white man makes sure that he keeps these things secret to us, right? So let's get to it. Let's get to it. I don't want to. I got a lot to cover, and Lord willing, we get through it. If not, maybe I'll do a part two if it takes too long. But I'm gonna try to just be thorough, but at the same time, get some understanding out the deal, right? Give me First Maccabees 3:48. We're gonna get a couple of scriptures out of here as well. So just a couple of basic scriptures, man, so everybody can understand and know what we're dealing with here. First Maccabees 3:48.
The book of First Maccabees, chapter 3, verse 48. And laid open the book of the law, wherein the heathen had sought to paint the likeness of their images.
Now, do you see what ends up happening? This is what they known as iconoclasm, where there is deliberate changing of the imagery that were found in the holy books and the relics and the paintings. The so-called white man made a concerted effort to change the faces of the judges thereof. Y'all can write down, you see it there, Job 9:24. Right? So when we're seeing that the earth being given into the hand of the wicked, one of the things that he did was change the imagery. You talking about the greatest form of vandalism ever performed on the earth? The so-called white man did it. He wants to talk about, oh, because little 10 tribe cat is running around spray painting his name on the wall. Oh, you're committing vandalism. That's punishable by a fine and jail time. And what type of violation or what type of penalty should he pay for changing the depiction of the Savior of Israel, changing the whole narrative of regarding who we are, hiding history the way that he's done for centuries? What should be the penalty for him? I'm asking y'all. What do y'all think? Is that capital punishment? Should he be?
No,
You done destroyed souls. You done destroyed history. You destroyed people's legacy and families and cultures and all just by lightening up, bleaching out, hiding, destroying records. And he says, what do you mean? It was all there. Oh, you just had to find it. You had to search it out. So the Most High always leaves us remnants and relics to get this understanding. Give me that in Psalm 85 and 11. Psalm 85 and 11.
The book of Psalm, chapter 85, verse 11. Truth thou shalt spring out of the earth, and righteousness shall look down from heaven.
See that? So truth is going to spring out of the earth, meaning what? Archaeology, hitting findings is going to help establish the truth. It's going to help make our points more clear and more poignant that we've got the truth and we're recognizing and seeing who we are and our place in history. Our place in history didn't begin with and end with, the transatlantic slave trade and us coming from Africa and so forth and so on, and our contributions to America, all which are great. When you're talking about all the inventions that we did, from everything from the stoplight to the transport of blood blood transfusions, the steam engine, the ironing board, the elevator shaft, the bicycle inner tube. I mean, our people had a hand, and we ain't even talking about the contributions of the 10 tribe. They found highway systems, sophisticated highway systems down in uh, South America, irrigation systems, water flow. I mean, you're talking about agricultural findings that now the so-called white man wants to stamp his name on it. He's the homeopathic natural herbalist now. He done stole all the dang knowledge of running around now proclaiming himself to be, of the earth and want to be part of that whole situation, right? But the Lord said the truth is going to spring out of the earth, and righteousness is going to look down from heaven. So we're going to get more righteous understanding as it's revealed to us from the Lord. Remember, He said in Daniel, the Lord's going to reveal the secrets, right? And that's how we move. So let's get to it. Let's get to it. So one definition, one word that we're going to have, make sure that we understand, because sometimes in your readings, as you're doing your own historical studies, a word swarthy. If you see swarthy, this is from the etymology of the word, means dark colored, especially of skin. So these little Negro apologists running around, hey, swarthy black, and young Israelites always trying to twist everything. Everybody couldn't have been black. Oh, well, when you're reading out of different reference books and you see swarthy, it says especially of the skin. So if you read swarthy anything, they're talking about a dark skinned person. Especially the skin of the 1580s, unexplained alteration of swarthy. All right. So we might read a few references that may lead to that term. So if you see it, we read it, you know what we're talking about. Let's continue. All right. So here's a book called Blacks in Antiquity. And sometimes we got to make sure that we understand when the so called white man puts in particular terms, we know exactly what he's talking about. Can you read that on me? Or is it too far? Okay.
The Book of Blacks in Antiquity. Frequent references to color indicate that the word Ethiopian designated persons of varying degrees of blackness.
So if you read about somebody being depicted or talked about as being Ethiopian, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's his nationality or that's who he was. This is what Greeks and Romans would call black people because it just means dark face. Okay, continue on.
Furthermore, the association of various combinations of other physical characteristics with the Ethiopian suggests that the Greeks and Romans were describing at least two types of people whom anthropologists today would classify as subtypes of the Negroid race.
So anytime you see about the Ethiopian, they said that they're talking about two different types of people. So what did what's that in Exodus? The 7 and 11? About how the Most High made a difference between us and the Egyptians, right? So that the so-called white man knows that. We know we're not all African. So when he says that the Ethiopian suggests that the Greeks and Romans were describing at least two types of people of whom anthropologists today would classify as subtypes of the Negroid race. So it's just like in what's it, Acts 9 or is it 8 about the man of Ethiopia? Acts 8. That says a man of Ethiopia. It didn't say that he was an Ethiopian. It said that he was a man that was from Ethiopia or that dwelt in Ethiopia or that was under what was the queen in there? I'm gonna mess it up. Let me get it real quick. I don't want to misquote it. Uh, the so-called Ethiopian eunuch of Act 8, 26 and 27. I mean, y'all can write it down, but it clearly tells you it's a man of Ethiopia. It didn't say that he was an Ethiopian, meaning of his nationality, but he was under Queen Candace. All right. So we see here that anytime that you're reading and trying to get particular histories, just because it may say that somebody is an Ethiopian, remember they're talking about skin color, not necessarily nationality. All right. Here's another page in the book. This is a little small. I don't know if you can read it, but let me know. If not, I'll read it.
I think I can read it.
All right, give it a shot.
It says, for example, he finds that the word Ethiopians were used by Greeks to refer to the What's it?
Sunburn.
Oh, sunburnt or black-faced, this black-faced people.
All right. So when we're reading particular aspects of Greek history or Greeks, remember the Greeks said that they would call everybody of burnt face or dark skin. Everybody was Ethiopian, including Israelites. They would say, "Oh, they Ethiopians," but they're only talking about the depiction of them, not their nationality. Read on.
Some Greek writers, such as Herodotus, or even shows to have made fine this.
I'll handle it for you. 'Cause it's a little. I don't know. It's a little small.
Yeah.
Uh, Herodotus are even shown to have made fine distinctions between types of Ethiopians or black-faced people, such as Eastern or Western Ethiopians, as well as their various shades of black color. Snowden examines the language of Greece and Rome and finds that it is full of references to the color of black people, such as Afar, meaning African, Indus, meaning Indian, Marus, meaning Moors, and Milas. So it's just showing you the different types of classifications that Esau would call us using these different terms. So one thing, just looking at when you're doing your studies, you're doing your research, and you see these particular terms, know that these are code words that Esau is using when he wants to define a so-called black person. So he may not say an African; he may call him an African or a Marus, which are the Moors. He may call them Ethiopians. But as we're looking and we're trying to get the understanding and looking at the context of his histories, then we can make clear distinctions about who he's talking about. We'll get an example of that in a second. So it says Snowden's work demonstrates how important it is for any researcher or general reader to keep labels clearly defined in history. Is it to be understood properly? The names of the tribes of Ethiopians in Africa were the Blemyes, Megabari, Troglodytes, and Nube. Therefore, these names, as well as such names as Niger, Afer, Ater, Aquilus, Exhaustus, Fuscus, Pericotus, and Nocticolor, generally refer to Ethiopians. Now, just off the top, right? Niger and Aquilus, we see those names in Acts, right? Priscilla and Aquila. And where were they from? Y'all remember? They came from Alexandria. They came from Alexandria in Egypt. Right. Go to Acts. What's that? Acts 18? And then give me Acts 13 real quick. Yeah, if you got Acts 13, we can get that first. Start at just what is it, 13 one?
The book of Acts, chapter 13, verse 1. Now there were in the church that was at Antioch certain prophets and teachers, as Barnabas and Simeon that was called Niger, and Lucius of Cyrene, and Manaen, which had been brought up with Herod the Tetrarch and Saul.
So again, we see the apostles being called niggers or black according to history and according to Roman and Greek writings. Okay. Give me that in Acts 18 and is it 2? Yeah, kind.
The book of Acts, chapter 18, verse 2. And found a certain Jew named Aquila, born in Pontus, lately come from Italy, with his wife Priscilla, because that Claudius had commanded all Jews to depart from Rome, and came unto them.
Right. And I believe their original habitation was out of Alexandria, out of Egypt, right? They would travel. You got Athens, and they was in Greece. They're in Italy, and you seeing Aquilus being another term that they called someone who was black. All right, so this brother's name was down there based upon his depiction, right? And where are they coming from? All these particular areas of Greece, Italy, uh, Rome, um, northern Egypt, right? So here's another page here. It says the virtuous life of the black father Moses. Let me read that again. This is the so-called white man wrote this, but Frank M. Snowden Jr. is a so-called white man. But what did he just call Moses? The virtuous life of the black father Moses of the desert of Sestus was a demonstration that the proverb, and that's in Greek. I don't know what that reads. It says can be reversed. But what's he talking about? Exodus 4. With the Moses put his hand in his bosom, bringing it out, it became white and leprous as snow. He put it back in, turned into other flesh. He's solidifying and saying that he knows that Moses was black. Okay. Uh Here's another page of the book. It says in Latin, the adjective most frequently used for this purpose was nigger. So we just talked about that in Acts 13 and 1, talking about color, right? See, it says the most common Greek words applied to the Ethiopians' color were, and they got it in Greek, and it's compounds, which I can't read that Greek. But it says in Latin, the adjective most frequently used for this purpose was nigger. Some say Niger, but it's actually nigger. All right. Now it also drops down. It says also appeared as equivalents of the various adjectives used to describe the Ethiopians' color. Though describing Ethiopians as black or dark, the ancients recognized that these peoples differed in pigmentation and took considerable pains to record the observed differences. Even Philostratus himself described Memnon as not really black because the pure black of his skin showed a trace of ruddiness. Negroes of red, copper colored complexion are known among African tribes. So that gets back into the argument regarding David being called ruddy and not red. But what do we know that that means? It just means that the blood is flushed through the skin. And it means one that's, handsome or youthful or whatnot. But it's letting it be known that Negroes were looked at as copper colored or red, not the so-called white man. Because what do they talk about with the Christians and certain people? Oh, if Esau is red, then David was red too because he was described as ruddy. So David was red. David was a white man. No, this historian is even acknowledging saying that Negroes are of red or copper colored complexion. Okay, so as long as we know and understand that's just another historical fact, we could talk about and break down Esau being red, David being ruddy, and another time. But this shows you that they know that there are different complexions of our people. Uh, we're gonna get to the real stuff right now. So here we see white man in completely busted. Uh, Give me that in Psalm. I think it's Psalm 64. Uh, Let me see if it's 64. Uh, Let me see. Hold on. Mm, yeah, 64 and 8.
The book of Psalms, chapter 64, verse 8. So they shall make their own tongue to fall upon themselves. All that see them shall flee away.
So the so-called white man and the wicked man, he said their tongues are going to tell on them. They're going to tell on themselves. They're going to get busted in their own dirt, doing their own dirt, right? Here we see one of the devils, man, out here. This is a famous picture, man, out of the Russian icon book. People see this all the time. Now, he's doing what's known as iconoclast. It's a person who destroys religious images or opposes their veneration. You can see the dark skinned image of Christ behind him, and what's he doing? Lightening up the depiction, purposefully vandalizing history. Okay, here's the book, Russian Icons, uh, and the House of Byron, man. Hopefully, y'all got some edification, and got some work out of that book, The Meaning of Icons. This book right here is pretty much probably unaffordable for most Israelites. That's working 9 to 5, living check to check, killing themselves just to live, just like all the rest of us. Right? This is a definitely a good book if you can afford it. I don't know how much it is right now on Amazon, but I'm sure it's probably in the thousands. Last I heard, it was in the thousands, right? But give me 1 second. I'm gonna show y'all something. This book right here is an alternative. Still has good images, many of which are in there, and it's probably about $60 or so. The Meaning of Icons. All right. If you want another book that's decently in comparison, it's not as good as Russian Icons, but it's got some good meat up in here. The Meaning of Icons. Go get this. It's about $60, I think, on Amazon, something like that. That's just a reference point because Russian Icons, you can forget about it. I think it's damn near $1,000, $1,300, something like that now. It's definitely not priced like it was back in the day. But let me get back to sharing my screen again, and we'll look at some of the imageries out of Russian icons. All right. Now, why do I bring this up? Right. Look at now. Notice how we see how Esau's going to hide things. This is from a website called Holy Art, where you can order these particular paintings and depictions. Right. Now, I know the picture's kind of small here, but if you can kind of make it out, you can see this is old. You notice here it says an old Russian icon of the last day of judgment out the 19th century. Almost all of these depictions on here of dark skinned people dealing with the final judgment of the Lord and the day of the Lord, right? Look how much they want or wanted for this particular picture. $20,000 for you to get this and have it. And notice it says it's sold out. Who's buying it? You think it's Israelites, Negroes out here investing 20 some odd $1,000 for this artwork? They ain't paying for this. The white man's buying this to get rid of it so that you can't get it no more. So we won't have access to it. Who would know that our particular history, you see these images right now, is this value? And a Negro is so scared to open up a book now, it's not even funny. But this stuff is sitting right on our nose. This stuff is sitting out here worth thousands of dollars. And he's spending the money to hide it, cover it up, and make sure you don't get access to it. And we're sitting back saying, "What read? I don't want to read. Nigga, you crazy. I'm not wasting my time." Is there a video on it? Is there a Twitter feed I can get or Instagram post I can look at real quick? Otherwise, I don't want it. Let's look at some of the imagery in the book. 1,600, yeah. See, sister, look it up. It's $1,600 for a Russian icon book. You got other images they selling $20,000, and they trying to make sure Negroes you can't touch this. All praise to the Most High for being able to have people that do get it, and then they download pictures on the internet. You can grab them off of there while they're available. But look at this one. Example of iconoclastic whitewash face, but look at her hands. Oh, they messed up there. Oh, supposed to be Mary and baby Jesus, and look at his feet. You see her hands, see her feet. They messed up and left that one out. All right. Is Yahweh son the disciples of the seventh between the 7th and 9th century? All of them dark, right? All of them dark. This is out the Russian icons book. You don't see a white image of Christ anywhere here. But where are they getting this stuff from? I mean, the Christians and all that, they will argue you down, man. Revelation 1:13, that's him in the spirit. It didn't mean he was really dark. It means, come on, man, stop making up all this foolishness. Nobody was disputing this in the 7th and the 9th century. They out here writing and drawing the real depictions. Only our people sit back and make excuses and say, no, that couldn't have been us. Moving on. Here's the Black Madonna. It ain't that old broad that's still running around talking about like a virgin. Have you seen her lately? She looking a mess. She didn't got so much stuff pumped up in her face and body. I mean, she looking wild. But yeah, this is the real so-called Black Madonna. All right, the dark skinned image of Mary and Christ. This is in the Cathedral of Notre Dame. So it's a Notre Dame Dupuy Cathedrals. Notre Dame, James I of Aragon in 1254, passing through the Lapoy on his return from the Holy Land, gave to the cathedral an ebony image of the Blessed Virgin, clothed in gold brocade, one of the many dozens of venerations of the Black Virgin of France. It was destroyed in the Revolution, but replaced at the Restoration with a copy that continues to be venerated. So notice it said that the original got destroyed in the Revolution, the French Revolution. You always hear about Napoleon knocking off the noses of the Sphinx and trying to get rid of his. Now we see what ends up happening, but they ended up still making a replica and still made it with her being black. All right. Uh, Here's another image: Abraham and Isaac. This is in Rome. It says a fresco from the Via Latina catacomb of Rome, painted around 320 AD. Abraham raises his sword to slay his son Isaac. So this is the portrait of Genesis 22. We can clearly see, does Moses look white? Look at the hands, look at the face, look at the afro. Look at Isaac on before him. Isaac is dark too, right? The lamb is over here on the side. Even if you got the dark lamb. But ain't nobody talking about no damn white Moses. We just seen Alan Snowden acknowledge and say that Moses was black, right? So we see that here. Here's another one: the catacombs in Rome again, Domitilia, Rome, and I mean of Yahweh and the disciples being dark. The Domitilia catacombs are unique in that they are the oldest of Rome's underground burial networks and the only ones that still contain bones. They are also the best preserved and one of the most extensive of all the catacombs. Included in their passages are a second century fresco of the Last Supper and other valuable artifacts. So that's why we read it in Psalms 85 and 11, how truth is going to spring out of the earth. This is one of the oldest catacombs around. And if we go all the way back into the Maccabees, when it talked about our people being fleeing into the catacombs, let's jump over there real quick. Maccabees 1. And let's read just get right to the point. And let's read 51 down to 53.
The book of First Maccabees, chapter 1, verse 51. In the selfsame manner wrote he to his whole kingdom, and appointed overseers over all the people, commanding the cities of Judah to sacrifice, city by city. Then many of the people were gathered unto them, to wit, every one that forsook the law. And so they committed evils in the land, and drove the Israelites into secret places, even wheresoever they could flee for
So
succor.
these secret places was catacombs. These places were in mountainous regions. These was underground tunnels. This is places where our people was hiding out, trying to escape persecution for rebelling against the commandment that Antiochus put out there, or Antiochus put out there, regarding everybody leaving off their laws, their religions, following after the ways of Greek customs and ways, submitting themselves to being Hellenized. Some of our people didn't go for it and ran and escaped. So these things still existed during the times of Rome, places that our people were leaving and escaping persecution. And what they do? They left our work and depictions for our people to realize and understand later. All right. Um, that's all I wanted. That's all I needed. That it says there's almost 150,000 bodies buried in the catacombs of Saint Domitilian. All right. So this is how many of our people was out there utilizing these tunnels and catacombs and grave sites. But we're leaving artwork of our people there. So here's a picture of Christ and the disciples, the Last Supper, the final Passover, Yahweh Shai, all dark skinned people. It's an early portrait of Moses in Syria in Dura Europa. Dura Europa is the oldest church left, or the oldest age church in Syria, dating back to like the second and third century. You see Moses here. He's being depicted as a brown skinned individual. Uh, this is him at the burning bush. This is dated 303 BC to 256 AD. Uh, let's see here. It's the oldest and earliest of Christian churches there in Syria. And this is how they kept it real. You see these churches now, they got white stained glass of Mary being white, Christ being white, the disciples being white, angels being white, all this new age stuff, they switch it up. But the oldest church still got us being brown and dark. Here's another one in the same. This is the catacombs of the saints of Marcelino and Pietro, circa 300 AD at Rome. This is Jonah being thrown off the or being threatened to be thrown off the boat. See Jonah being dark. All right. Um, let's continue on. King Edward the First of England, 1272 to 1307, and his wife Queen Margaret of France. You tell me this don't look like a sister and a brother. Look at the sister down there. You know, you see the eyes and eyebrows. You see her the lips. First thing they want to do is knock them noses off because they want to make sure that you're gonna see no type of Negroid features, than the phenotypes of anything that had anything to do with anybody being black, right? So you read about and see King Edward the First of England. You're talking about a brother, okay, and his wife Queen Margaret of France, and you can see she clearly is a sister. You don't see no damn phenotype of no Edomites in her features between the eyes, the nose. You see the nostrils of the nose clearly wide on the sister in particular, and you see them lips. Here's another depiction or another painting of Moses and the Hebrews crossing the Red Sea in Dura Europa. Uh, Moses and Aaron both being black, and look at the hands above them. Whose hands do you think those are parting the Red Sea? No. The hands above him. You see the hands above? Yeah, parting the Red Sea, dark, right? You see the Egyptians on one side, Jake's on the other. The Egyptians getting drowned out. Jake's on the other side, marching through dry land, all dark, right? Here's another depiction in Dura Europa. It's debated on whether this is Ezra or it's Jeremiah, but you can see the afro. You see the the look like he got a little swirl in him, but you definitely see the afro and the beard clearly. It's either Ezra or Jeremiah. It's debated on which one they are, but they're reading of the scrolls. All right. Here's another picture of Yahweh Shai in Russia, dark skin, clearly. All right. And the Mosai. Here's another one in Romania. This is at a Romanian monastery called the Voronezh. And this is a famous monastery that's got vast history and depictions of our people. Man, you see Yahweh Shai clearly got the dark skin, got the afro, got the glow. Like what's the name from the Last Dragon? Leroy and Shona. He got the glow. Yahweh Shai got it. You see the glowing halos over the apostles and the angels behind them. Ain't nobody white in there. And this is in Romania. Now notice that the Renaissance didn't spread uh far east. When you're talking about Russia, Romania. This is why we see this artwork still being preserved over there. They hit heavy in Europe and all of that, but later on down the line, uh, the Renaissance started hitting Russia. They started destroying stuff and started removing. This is things that they still let remain. So here we see Yahweh and the angels, dark in Romania in the Voronezh. Here's another one, Judgment Day at the Voronezh Monastery in Romania. You can see the angels clearly being dark. Uh, you see they lightened up a couple of people that's waiting for judgment, waiting for their crowns, but you can still see clearly. Look at the angel in the left hand corner. Dark. You see all the heads in there waiting in judgment. Dark. Uh, and that gets you into what was it, Ezekiel 1 with the color of the angels. Let's get that real quick. Ezekiel 1 and I think it's 4. Just getting right to the point.
Book of E.
Yeah, I mean, Yeah, just read 4 down to 7.
The book of Ezekiel, chapter 1, verse 4. And I looked, and behold, a whirlwind came out of the north, a great cloud, and a fire enfolding itself, and a brightness was about it, and out of the midst thereof, as the color of amber, out of the midst of the fire.
Right. So Ezekiel seeing the chariot of the Most High coming out the fire. Right. Read on.
Also out of the midst thereof came the likeness of four living creatures, and this was their appearance. They had the likeness of a man, and every one had four faces, and every one had four wings, and their feet were straight feet, and the sole of their feet was like the sole of a cow's foot, and they sparkled like the color of burnished brass.
So he's seeing the angels dark like burnt brass. All right. Just to get right to the point. And we see here in the pictures of them having the wings, dark skin, just like Ezekiel saw in his vision. All right. Here's a bigger picture of the entire artwork there in the Vorone, but it's um a whole canvas that they have painted in there. Various pictures and artwork. Here's one of the ones I really like. When you see it like kind of isolated, you can pick out different depictions of the thing, right? But you see this one. Now you know they can the artist can tell who's who because they can clearly make some dark skinned angels, and then you see these little pale face red people down there bound up getting judged, and you see them angels out there getting ready to slay them. Well, where do we see here these particular things coming from? Give me second Ezra 13. Second Ezra 13. And y'all can write down Revelations 13, 9 and 10, and Isaiah. Well, actually, no, just Revelation 13, 9 and 10. But let's read that in second Ezra 13, and let's read start at verse 1 and 2, and then we'll drop down to 13.
The book of Second Ezra, chapter 13, verse 1. And it came to pass after 7 days, I dreamed a dream by night.
Continue on.
And lo, there arose a wind from the sea, that it moved all the waves thereof.
Go ahead.
Verse 13.
No, read 3. I'll tell you when to drop down 13. I want to get the context.
Verse 3. And I beheld, and lo, that man waxed strong with the thousands of heaven. And when he turned his countenance to look, all the things trembled that were seen under him.
So Ezra is seeing in the latter days, he's seeing Yahweh Shai, right? And Yahweh Shai is going to look upon the multitude. The multitude is going to try to engage in the fight with, we might as well just read it. Continue on. I want to make sure everybody's on. Go ahead.
Verse 4.
Mm-hmm.
And whensoever the voice went out of his mouth, all they burned that heard his voice, like as the earth faileth when it feeleth the fire.
Right. So Revelation 17 and 16 tells you that the 10 horns are going to hate. I mean, they're going to try to make war with the Lamb. You hear about the Valley of Jehoshaphat. The Most High said, man, tell all the nations, gear up for war. They're going to be battling and warring with each other. Yahweh Shai is going to pop on the scene, just summarizing everything. Pop on the scene, all the nations are going to be fearing and trembling. They're going to try to join up together and say, we got to fight this bigger threat. This is why the so-called white man pumps up alien stories and everything else. We're going to be invaded by aliens. We're going to band together and fight against. Now, they know exactly who it's going to be. Read.
Verse 5. And after this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men out of number from the four winds of the heaven to subdue the man that came out of the sea.
You see that? So they're all going to try to band together to try to get and make war with the Lamb, being Yahweh Shai, right? But it said that anything that came out of his mouth, he said they burned just at his mere voice. Right? Read on.
But I beheld, and lo, he had graved himself a great mountain, and flew upon it. But I would have seen the region or place whereout the hill was graven, and I could not.
Mm-hmm.
And after this I beheld, And lo, all they which were gathered together to subdue him were sore afraid, and yet durst fight.
So they're gonna try to gather together to try to make war with Yahweh Shai. Yahweh Shai is gonna fly up to Mount Zion. He's gonna hold tight. They're gonna get they like worried now. What are we gonna do? We know he's gonna return. We know he's gonna get us. Read.
And lo, as he saw the violence of the multitude that came, he neither lifted up his hand, nor held sword, nor any instrument of war.
Continue on.
But only I saw that he sent out of his mouth as it had been a blast of fire, and out of his lips a flaming breath, and out of his tongue he cast out sparks and tempests.
Just through the voice of the power of Yahweh Shai. When you read about him saying that he had a voice of the sound of roaring waters, I mean, this is real power. Now, he said that he ain't got to lift up a sword, hand, nothing. Yahweh Shai say, die. Sparks, tempest, flames coming out, destroying them. Read on.
And they were all mixed together, the blast of fire, the flaming breath, and the great tempest, and fell with violence upon the multitude which was prepared to fight, and burned them up every one, so that upon a sudden of an innumerable multitude nothing was to be perceived, but only dust and smell of smoke. When I saw this, I was afraid.
Ezra said, man, I'm seeing all this. He said, I was definitely afraid what I seen. He seen nothing but smoke, dust, bodies burnt, and the whole nine. That's why we read Isaiah 66. He said that was it 5? And said the fierce fire of the Lord is gonna come down upon everybody eating swine's flesh and hanging with the mouse and all of that. This is real judgment. Read on.
And afterward I saw the same man come down from the mountain, and call unto him another peaceable multitude. And there came much people unto him, whereof some were glad, some were sorry, some of them were bound.
Well, what?
Some of them were
Now
bound.
it said this is a peaceable multitude. Now we're talking about the remnant and the elect that's been saved and preserved. And guess who's coming along with them, bound in chains? He said some of them gonna be sorry. Oh, it's too late, white man. Too late. The heathen gonna be, we're sorry. We didn't mean it. Can we come with you? Yeah, yeah, put these chains on. Yeah, you're gonna be clinging to us. Read.
And other some brought of them that were offered.
Mm-hmm.
Then was I sick through great fear, and I awake and said,
Ezra, he said he seen this man made him sick after seeing all this. But look what we see up there in this picture. There they go, bound up, right? So we're seeing that everything that the artist was reading. I mean, they were making it visual for us to see in these times, right? Let's continue on. Here's Adam and Eve on the same born name. All right. Are they white or are they dark? You see the serpent right there, supposedly whispering in Eve's ear. But if we're coming from the earth, made from the dust of the ground, of course they're gonna be dark. You see them over here naked, covering themselves with leaves, dark skin. This is in Romania. All right. Here's another depiction here. Saint Benedict of Palermo. You see him being a dark skinned man, but you look to the left, who they say he look like? I mean, come on. You got these fake images out there, man. They say he's a white man, but artwork, I mean the sculptures say differently. That he was a dark skinned saint. All right. Look at Pope Francis and Pope Benedict. Who are they bowing down and praying to? As we see them here, bowing down to the dark skinned image of Mary and Christ, even the popes know they ain't gonna tell us. They're not gonna be the ones that go out there and promote it. But behind closed doors, they're bowing down to images of a dark skinned woman and the Savior of Israel, baby Yahweh Shai. All right. Let's move on over here. You know what? This is something else. I'll probably cover this later, but this is just a point to make. Uh, in history, you got Oliver Cromwell. You had a civil war between the British and the English. If you notice, there's a difference. They're not the same people. We always say, "Oh, where are you from, Britain? Are you English?" No, the British were Jakes, the English were Edomites. That's what British Civil War. That's a whole nother thing to get into. But Oliver Cromwell was an English general and statesman who first, as a subordinate and later as a commander in chief, led armies of the Parliament of England against King Charles I during the English Civil War, subsequently ruling the British Isles of Lord as Lord and Protector from 1653 and his death in 1658. We just saw what King Charles the First looked like. They knocked his was that Richard? Let me double back. I thought that was no, it's King Edward. My bad. Oliver Cromwell. So when you see the British, it's a whole nother thing to get into when we're talking about the whole world British, right? The word Brit, and if you're looking at etymology of the word Brit, uh, show everything. Let me see if I can get that real quick. Etymology. Etymology. Let's look at Brit real quick. I don't think it's. Let me share. All right. Uh, so Brit. It's etymology. It's a noun. U.S. colloquial shortening of British or Britain. 1901. Formerly the British. Felt as offensive by Englishmen traveling in the States, regarding it as another instance of the odious vulgarism of the Americans. But a Bret or a Brit, B-R-Y-T, were common Old English words of Celtic origin, right? Now, if you look at, let me see if I can get it. Let's see here. Page 1285. Page 1285. So let me switch over here. You see, Brit is B-R-Y-T, right? Now, when you look at that same word in the Hebrew, Barit or Barayat, that means a covenant. Covenant, Barayat, right? Now, that's the prefix of Brit, and Ish is Ayash, meaning man, okay? So you're talking about a man of the covenant or covenant man. Well, who was the covenant given to? Obviously, we know Israel was given his covenants, right? So you see the same word, Brit, or like they said it in the Old English, it was Bryt, but the prefix of that would be Brit or Baryah, meaning a covenant people. Ash or Ayash, it's H375, I believe. No, it's not 375. Should be ish. Let me see. H275. Maybe that ain't. That's not. I wrote down the wrong one. I thought I had to. I try to make it easier just to get the Hebrew right away, but I might have wrote down the wrong one. But Ayash is man, right? So you've got a covenant, man of the covenant is British. So when you're hearing about the British fighting the English, it's the covenant people, the Jacobites. These were dark skinned people. These were black people of Britain fighting against the English, so called white. That was a civil war that was happening. That's just a little history for everybody to look into and understand. They weren't the same people. These were different people battling and fighting each other. Black against white, civil war, race war, if you will. And best believe we'll be probably having another one before you know it, because they out there prepping. Al-Dadi, they following you around in the stores as you're looking for some ammunition for your tools, right? They looking around saying, "What's this Negro doing in here? And what are you buying? We want to see what you up to." As they're following you around. Let's continue on. So British meaning Bar Ayash meaning they man of the covenant or covenant man. Right, and we know the covenant was given to who? Israel, right? Black Royal Coat of Arms out of Germany and Portugal. This is Nature Knows No Color Line. Famous book by J.A. Rogers. Many of our people are aware of this, have this book. If you don't, it's a good investment to get. You might even find it free online, like a PDF, I believe. But if you don't have it, get it. Excuse me. The coat of arms is a principal part of a system of heredity symbols dating back to early medieval Europe, used primarily to establish an identity in battle. Arms evolved to denote family descent, adoption, alliance, property ownership, and eventually profession. That's out of Britannica.com. So when you see these coats of arms, it's to establish identity, family descent, um, and these are all medieval symbols, right? This is out of Portugal and out of Germany, but they'll never tell us this in school that our people had a presence and a royal presence at that in these particular areas. Here's another one: the crest out of Coburg, Germany, circa 1600. You can't tell me that this ain't no Negro out of Germany, right? There's a crest out of Germany. Here's one on one of the gates of the town hall entrance in Germany. Coburg Town Hall entrance in Buenos Aires. Okay. Uh, Here's another one. The Kingdom of Prussia. Anybody know Prussia? Shalak, you been in these areas. You ever seen any of this stuff out there in Germany? They still hiding it, huh? Kingdom of Prussia's Magdeburg territory is a depiction of Philip Warren, Margrave of Brandenburg-Schwedt. He was Prince of Prussia and the half brother of Frederick I of Prussia, and is so given the title Royal Highness. And you see clearly that that's a J. Prussia is a German state. All right. It says Prussia was a German state located on the most northern European plain, also occupying southern and eastern regions. It formed the German Empire when they united with the German states in 1871. So here we're seeing a black prince out of Germany that they definitely are going to hide and not have anything to do with it. And our people are going to sit back and say, Germany, but what, ain't no Negroes over there. I seen a white dude in some podcast. I forgot which one it was, and they was talking about the Holocaust. And this dude said he was talking with a brother, and he was like, "Yeah, there was no black people in that at that time anyway." So the brother was like, "What? Like you just said that we didn't exist?" Look, we had a vast history just royally in Russia. Not only that, but historically, they don't talk about our persecutions during the time of World War II and us being persecuted. You see here the Nazi persecution of black people in Germany. Now, this lets you know that we still have remnants of our people still over there. Many, you look into the history, a lot of them was men. They was definitely dating the what they call them, like German women, Schwelder. uh, they was out there, swirling it up with the Edomite women too. But at the same time, it let you know that our people still definitely had a presence in Germany as we were being persecuted and put in them camps, right along with the GMO small hats who sit back and act like they was the only ones there. Um, it says here, the Nazis harassed and discriminated against black people in Germany. The regime's racial laws limited their social and economic opportunities. The Nazi regime forcibly sterilized an unknown number of black and multiracial people, including at least 385 multiracial Rhineland children, uh, derogatorily called the Rhineland bastards. So this is what how they were treating our people, not even realizing that we helped set the tone and maintain a stronghold in Germany And as the so-called white man came up out of them dang caves and started taking back over, he made sure that he paid us back. This is why he got to get put to death. This is why he got to be judged. When it says that, man, he helped forward the affliction, and he had his and Ezekiel 35, where it says that he's got um uh forgot the word, but the hatred that he had for our people. Why the Most High said he's going to judge him? Let me read that real quick. I want to find that. Ezekiel 35 and uh yeah, perpetual hatred. 35 and 5.
The book of Ezekiel, chapter 35, verse 5. Because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end.
And the time that their iniquity had an end. So the time when we was at a time when we were open for repentance and grace and mercy, they still kept hammering us down with perpetual hatred. Right. So we see it here. At one point in time, we was in there ruling. Then what? Esau comes out, man, and has continuing on with the perpetual hatred for our people there in Germany. Here we go. Here's another. Johannes Morris, another Moor of saintly status in Europe. This icon is dated to the 19th century and is to be found in a museum in Germany. He was a vizier of Sicily circa 1100 AD. An advisor is a high official in certain Muslim countries and caliphates, especially a minister of the state. So if he was a vizier in Italy, I'll let you know that he was a man of high stature there in Italy. Okay. Of course, right? Saint Maurice, he's a famous saint and knight of the Middle Ages. The Black Saint Maurice, the Knight of the Holy Lance, is regarded as the great patron saint of the Holy Roman Germanic Empire. They don't never want to give our people no dang credit for it. Specifically, Maurice was the commander of a Roman legion of Christian soldiers stationed in Africa. Now, this gets into credence dealing with Cornelius being a J. When you're talking about Cornelius saying that he was a officer of the Italian band, and the band is the officer of 100, and let you know that Cornelius was a so-called black man. That's a whole nother thing. But if we're talking about, is there any other history where we're seeing black men leading Roman legions? Yeah, Saint Maurice. Okay. Led a Roman legion of Christian soldiers stationed in Africa. By the decree of the Roman Emperor Maximian, his contingent of 6,600 men was dispatched to Gaul in order to suppress a Christian uprising there. Maurice disobeyed the order. Subsequently, he and almost all of his troops were martyred when they chose to die rather than persecute the Christians, renounce their faith, and sacrifice to the gods of the Romans. So clearly, he was anti Hellenism, anti turning into Romans, protecting his people. He ultimately was martyred and killed. Okay, but that's Saint Maurice. Samorian. This dates into even dealing with King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. All right, Samorian was a black knight during that era. Morian is the adventure of a splendidly heroic Moorish knight, possibly a Christian convert, supposed to have lived during the days of King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. Morian is described as follows. He was all black, even as I tell ye. His head, his body, and his hands were all black, saving only his teeth. His shield and his armor were even those of a Moor and black as a raven. This is out of I think Black Britons is the book. Uh, yeah, Blue Black said, "All you see is his teeth." You turn the lights off, man. You tell him smile. Where are you? Samori. All right, Septimius Severus, famously known as the Roman ruler and the African emperor. They call him out this book called Anthony Barely. All right, so Timmy Severus is the one who sparked off the Dark Age rulership in the 4th century AD, leading all the way up into the 15th century before the white man came out them catacombs and caves and started his Renaissance vandalism. All right, Septimius Severus We'll look a little bit here. His mother was Italian. His father was Libyan African. In the book, it explains his bloodline goes back to the Phoenicians uh, of Canaan and northern Israel. But you can see here how they smudging out his face. Why are they doing that? Who knows? But you see his father is clearly dark. His mother was the Edomite. Uh, but you see here, the Roman Empire reached its greatest extent under his reign, encompassing an area of 2 million square miles. That's under Septimius Severus. So let's look at this. He ruled from 193 to 211. Now, putting the pieces of the puzzle together, how do we know that he was a so-called Israelite or a Jake? You see here is the article out of biblicalarchaeology.org, Phoenicia and the special relationship with Israel. Um, this goes into showing the kinship of the Phoenicians and the Israelites and how the Greeks were the ones who put the name Phoenicians on them. We know biblically there were two different people. However, the Greeks were calling the Israelites Phoenicians as well. That's a whole nother thing. But if you want the reference, it's down here, library.biblicalarchaeology.org. Uh, Screenshot it, you can double back, you can do some reading on it, understand how the Phoenicians were known as Israelites as well. But why is this important? Because Septimius Severus traced his lineage back through the Phoenicians. Here's another article here. Jews and Arabs descend from Canaanites. Now, this is a little misleading when they say that because they did a DNA study and found 93 bodies that were recovered, descendant of Jews, but they found them in the lands of Canaan on the southern Levant. Just because they found it there doesn't mean that they were quote unquote Canaanites. They just saying, oh, well, the people that we found there, the DNA, they must have been Canaanites because we found out where the Canaanites ruled. But we know that Canaan comes from the seed of Ham out of Genesis 10, and the Jews, we descend out of Shem. So bloodline is different. Just where they found them doesn't mean that they were Canaanites. But this gets into proving more of the point that Septimius Severus descended from the Phoenicians, the Canaanites, all dwelling in them same areas. All right. So he was a brother. And his lineage leads back to Hannibal, who we all know is a Jake as well. So Septimius Severus, Roman Emperor of Libya. Here's his coin. You see the curly hair. You see the kinkiness in the beard. You see the depictions of him being dark. Here's another one. This picture I took at the Getty Museum over in. Remember we went for Tila. I think it's close to Malibu. It's off of PCH. We had homeschool Tila back in the day, and I mean it's still going on. But we had a field trip. We took kids to the Getty Museum, which has a lot of history in regards to Greece and Rome. But here's a picture that they have of Septimius Severus of a coin they have there. I took a picture. You can see on his crown, he got this hanging off the back of his head because he got that afro jumping off, and you can see the kinky beard where the braids of the beard is coming down. Septimius Severus ruled from 193 to 211. His wife Julia Domna and their son Caracalla. On the other side of the coin, it has him and his son. All right, but you can clearly see, man, you got the features of a Jake with the afro underneath of the crown and whatnot. So here's another one, Hannibal Barca. I mean, you got a little contingency of people, man, that's out the top of Hannibal wasn't a Jake because of the people in Libya who's living over there or in northern Africa don't look like that now. Same way they did Kevin Hart. Remember they was trying to ban Kevin Hart because they said he said the Egyptians were black, and now they talking about well, ban him. How dare you say they black? We're not black. I ain't talking about you implants that them got migrated over there. You're not the original people, man. Get out of here. But Hannibal. I think Denzel is supposed to be doing a movie on Hannibal, and they were saying that they're already meeting. He's getting resistance and protest because they're saying that he's being depicted as black. Yeah, yeah. I seen an article about that. So, but here we see Septimius Severus acknowledged the great military general Hannibal, a known so-called black man, as his kinsman and fellow native of Carthage. It's in that book as well. But he leads his lineage back to Hannibal, both of them being out of Carthage and out of the Phoenician Empire. Um, but you see, look at Hannibal's lips. Look at the nose and look at the kinky afro. You know, come on. Uh, Out of Carthage, out of northern Africa, man. So him and Septimius Severus share a kinship. So if he looked like that, what do you think Septimius looked like? Here's another black emperor, Varius Avitus Basilius or Elagabalus. He's also a descendant of um, Septimius Severus. You can see they chipped off his lips to try to, thin him down, knock his nose down, but you can see that wide nostril. They missed that little nostril down there, and you can see the kinky uh, hair as well. That ain't that straight Caesar cut that you can see on these Edomites. You can see his hair is definitely kinky. They knocked the nose down, they chipped off the lips to try to thin him out. But he's a descendant of Septimius Severus in the Severian dynasty. He ruled from 218 to 222 AD. This is another brother that ruled during the times of Rome. Y'all can write this one down, Luke 16, 20 down to 31 regarding Lazarus. But this also is a catacomb in Rome. And you see Yahweh Shai performing a miracle, raising Lazarus from the dead. Yahweh Shai is in the front in the white garment. Look at his face. A young Yahweh Shai, dark, right? Yeah, natural, 4th century, out of Rome. This is a depiction that's being made. You don't see no damn white man. What time is it? Got a little more time. All right. Here's King James' father, Lord Darnley of the Stewart family. You tell me that ain't a Jake. Henry Darnley, 1545 to 1567, ruled as king consort of Scotland as the second husband of Mary, Queen of Scots. He was the father of King James the fourth, the sixth, and the first. He was also his wife's half cousin, as descendant from Margaret Tudor and Henry the Eighth. Excuse me, Henry the Seventh. So this is King James' father, Henry Lord Darnley, a brother, right? Uh, Now here we see from the lineages. There's a book I got called "When Scotland Was Jewish." Now remember, King James, he's the first king of Scotland, the first of England, and the sixth of Scotland, right? Here's his family tree. I'm gonna read it. It's a little small, but it says with the Stuarts, because he's a descendant of the Stuart family. The Stuarts, we see careful preservation of this tradition all the way down to King James the First of England, who named his heir apparent Henry after his father, Henry Stuart, Lord Darnley. Husband of Mary, Queen of Scots, the name Frederick came from Henry, other grandfather, Frederick the Second of Denmark. Why is this important? Because it's showing that King James bloodline and lineages, they noted just like they used to do during the times. Remember out of Ezra chapter 2 when we came out of captivity and the men tried to come up and claim lineage to the Levites, and they was like, we don't see a name in the registry. So they were acknowledging that the bloodline and the royal line, that they would make sure that they kept track of who was who. And this book even dates back saying that they trace his lineage back to David. So we see here it's saying the practice of alternating names goes back to ancient Jewish custom of the high priestly family of Zadok in Jerusalem, whose members were named alternately Onias and Simeon from 332 to 165 BCE. The signature of spiritual sovereignty was imitated by the Hasmonean rulers that followed them, as well as the heirs of Herod. Later, it was used by the Hillelites, with the names Gamaliel and Judah succeeding each other, with an occasional occurrence of Simeon and Hillel. About this time, the practice of double names for the person began to be adopted, another Jewish trait revived by the Stuarts. So, to show you how the names made a difference in the association and lineages with the royal families, and they kept records of who they were. Here's one more page out the book. It's page 113. It says, of course, what is remarkable about the testimony is that when added to the historical record that Gawain supplied the royal Stuart family with goods, it reveals the close connection between the Gawain family and the Stuart monarchy, which claimed to be descended from the holy blood of King David. Thus, rather the Christian, we suggest that the Holy Blood altar and the fraternity of merchants and guildsmen were in fact crypto-Jewish. The Guild Hall at Gawain's Hospital has three large scallop shell carvings in the inside above its entryways that strongly hint we are entering a place that was Jacobite, one frequently by supporters of the Stuarts and the Davidic bloodline the Stuarts embodied. So, getting back to the Stuart family, which is King James's patriarchal bloodline, they acknowledge that they came from and have links to David and were known as the Jacobites. Okay. Here's Mary, Queen of Scots. This is King James' mother, right? Now, I found this book. Uh, we was walking down. Family was walking one time, and somebody had like a book rack out on their lawn, and they had a sign on there saying, "Take what you want, it's free." And I seen this book. I said, "Man, let me grab this book." Right. Lo and behold, I got it for free. Took it off their lawn, and it was about the life of Elizabeth the First, being King James' mother. And on page 16, it says what? She had a swarthy olive complexion like that of her mother, although she made a habit of whitening it with a lotion made up of egg whites, powdered eggshells, poppy seeds, borax, and alum, which made her face appear white and luminous. So clearly, we seeing King James' mother was swarthy. We read that earlier. What it say? Dark skin, especially when it comes down to your flesh. She was dark skinned, and what was she doing? Skin whitening, just like these sisters run around here now in Jamaica and other places, man. Hollywood, whitening up their skin, trying to look like they ain't white zaddies and mommies, right? But she was clearly dark. Uh, let's see here. Here's another picture of Yahweh Shine Angels. You see here it says Christ. This is a book called Early Spanish Manuscripts and Illumination. This is a depiction of Yahweh Shai and the angel. It says Christ, whose darkened flesh tones now give him an almost negroid cast, is shown enthroned between two cherubs within a great circular firmament suspended from the hands of two seraphs. So we see here Yahweh Shai being dark between the two cherub angels. They're both dark, right? And that's out of this book, Early Spanish Manuscript Illumination. Uh, here's another page out the book dealing with David and Goliath. And it says the Philistines stood on a mountain on the side, and Israel stood on a mountain on the other side. There was a valley between them, and there went out a man, base born from the camp of the Philistines, named Goliath of Gath, whose height was 6 cubits and a span. So you're seeing Goliath in the middle, but look at the Israelites on one side, everybody dark, everybody brown, and the Philistines on the other side, same thing. Notice they try to lighten up Goliath, but he still got some brown tones to him. But wasn't no white people there. That's just the bottom line. David and Goliath both was dark. This is another picture I took of at the Getty Museum because anytime you see any of these movies, man, with the exception of the Book of Clarence, which I haven't seen yet, but I'm gonna watch it. Everybody's white, man. There was no black people in Rome at the time and all of that, right? But here we see here the head of a quote unquote African boy. This is circa 150 to 200. The curly hair, chubby face, and attentive gaze create a lively and sensitive portrait of a young boy. Roman artists often depicted children as types rather than individuals, but here the impression is of a distinct personality. So what are they saying? Yes, there were so-called black people there in Rome. even to the point that they were making statues and artwork of them during them times. I'm gonna skip this one, but this is enough.
Destroy everything, or they hit everything.
They did both. They did both. Destroyed and they hid. Um, and that, as you see, they're overpricing it to where we can't afford to get it. Here's this is a book from the African presence in early Europe by Ivan van Sertima. This is a good book too. The text is really small, so I don't want to read it too much, but this is also something good to get. But it's letting it be known that there was a African, so-called African people, but our people was in these particular areas. It's a good book reference. Um, Here's another one, some more pictures out of the book, Blacks in Antiquity. It says a bronze statue of a boy, Hellenistic hair and long spiral curls, close to the head and a very broad nose. So it always lets you know that when you're looking at these archaeologists and these scholars, they always look for the phenotypes. They want to see the nose, they want to see the lips, they want to see the eyes, the skull shape. That's why when anytime you see noses destroyed, lips destroyed, it's because they want to try to destroy the actual phenotype of the individual that's being depicted, so that they can easily say, "Well, we can't tell if that was actually black, or we can't tell what they really look like because it's been distorted." Well, it was deliberately being done, right? So how did they identify? Because the curls in the hair, the head, the broad nose, these were things that they would depict. But it says this was a Hellenistic boy. So this is one who was turned out, following after the ways of the Greeks and the Romans, right? According to the scriptures, we knew that that happened. Here's another one here. You see on the artwork and the pottery, all the scholars and all of the uh, archaeologists again say that these are the best ways to determine primary source of origins of the people. And we see here dark skinned men on Roman and Greek pottery. It says here a detail of heads of Memnon and Negroes from the black figured uh, neck. Man, I can't read that. Detail of one of Memnon's Negro companions from a black figured neck amphora. This is from the 5th century BC. Okay. There go a war. Remember a war, yeah. A brother back in the day, named a war. We used to always say he looked like he looked like it. This is a picture of Socrates. Yeah. Sculpture of Socrates. Look at the nose, man. Look at the lips on this brother. Yeah, definitely. You see that type of features on there. They say, "Oh heck no." Socrates was a Greek philosopher from Athens who's credited as the founder of Western philosophy. An enigmatic figure, Socrates authored no text and is known mainly through his posthumous accounts of classical writers, particularly his students Plato and Xenophon. His students, right? But look at the nose on it. I ain't seen no white man with no nose like that. Right? Unless his mama was messing around with Tyrone.
Look like them chicks get cold what they call them things?
Togas.
Togas.
Mm-hmm. You know, here's some excerpts out this book called "The Memoirs of the Secret Services of John Mackey, Esquire." He was a spy sent within the king's court. He's an eyewitness testimony. This is primary source material when it comes down to what he observed in these particular courts of King William, King George, King James. The Memoirs of the Secret Services of John Mackey, Esquire, during the reigns of King William, Queen Anne, and King George I, including also the true secret history of the rise, promotions, etc., of the English and Scots nobility, officers, civil, military, naval, and other persons of distinction, from the Revolution in their respective characters of large, drawn up by Mr. Mackey, pursuant to the direction of Her Royal Highness and Princess Sophia, published from the original manuscript as attested by his son Spring Mackey, Esquire. This is primary source material of what he witnessed within these courts, within the military, Scots nobility, so forth and so on. What did he see? Charles Lennox, the Duke of Richmond. It said he is son to King Charles II by the Duchess of Portsmouth, was carried by his mother into France in the reign of King James, and left France in the reign of King William. Dropping down, it says he's a gentleman, good natured to a fault, very well bred, and have many valuable things in him. Is an enemy to the Bushnells, very credulous, well shaped, black complexion, much like King Charles, not 30 years old. Now, notice that much like King Charles, says the black complexion, but when you look him up on Wikipedia, you look up on Google, look what they got to the side. Is that black complexion? But a Christian gonna say they're talking about his hair. It's the hair, it's not his skin. No, complexion, skin color, man. And this is the lie that they put out there. He's the son of King Charles. Son of King Charles II, Charles Lennox, Duke of Richmond. And look what they say King Charles looked like. Now, if it said he was black complexion and just like his father, but when you go and you look up, this was King Charles right here, England.
That's like a composer.
Yeah,
Like that song.
yeah, that's right. That's right. Absolutely.
Chorus, and then
You say it ain't no way some white folks did that.
Just like this, they got the icon of white.
Absolutely. Looking like the Three Musketeers or something. You know?
Name was
Handle?
Handle.
Mm. Yeah, see. I wouldn't be surprised with what you're saying. Here's some more. All right. John Lord Summers, the late Lord Chancellor. Dropping down and reading him, it says, he's of grave deportment, easy and free in conversation, something of a libertine, of middle stature, brown complexion, nearly 50 years old. Uh, but let's see what he looks like. Man, what are they saying he looks like now? If I look him up on the internet. Brown complexion, huh? Where? Esau is the devil for real. Let's get another one. Daniel, Earl of Nottingham, Secretary of the State. In his habit and manners, very formal, a tall, thin, very black man, like a Spaniard or a Jew. About 50 years old. Oh, so they got black Jews, huh? I guess that's all made up. Oh, the so-called Negroes out there making up. They ain't no black Jews, man. You guys made up this whole theory and running around here brainwashing people into your cult. I guess John Mackey and the rest of the people at the time, they obviously knew that there was black Jews, right? But hey, you want to look him up now? What's he look like? What are they saying? Daniel Earl of Nottingham is what we just got through reading. Look at the top. Daniel Earl of Nottingham. I can't tell. Did it say very black before that? Very black man, like a Spaniard or a Jew, about 50 years old. Here they got him looking like he's about 19. And damn sure ain't very black. More lies. Let's continue. George Fitzroy, Duke of Northumberland. His son, the King Charles II, by the Duchess of Cleveland, was one of the captain of King James horse guards, which he quitted at the Revolution and never had any pots. Though sometimes presents from the presents from the king, all King William's reign. Let's look what he looked like. He's a gentleman, very way de bon naturel, well bred, does not love Bushnells, is well affected to the constitution of his country. He is of black complexion, not too tall as the Duke of Northumberland, yet very well like King Charles, turned 30 years old. Again, black complexion. These are all men of a royal court in England and in uh, Scotland. But when you look at him now, this is what they say he look like. I mean, wearing wild wigs on, man. You don't see nobody black here at all. But they continue to push the lies. Here's another. This one, man, UZL sent this one to me, and I had to look into it because he just sent me the picture, but then we end up finding out, looking it up, we see the real truth, right? Frederick Augustus II, King of Poland. And you know, remember them old times you used to talk about the old jokes? There's a black man, a white man, and the Polak. You know, what I'm saying? Poland was always a dumb. You know what I'm saying? But here we see Frederick Augustus II, King of Poland and Elector of Saxony, was a prince of great stature, strength, and dexterity, of a swarthy and majestic countenance. Now you see him here, dark skin, riding a horse, right? And this is out of a book called The Present State of Germany in 2 volumes. It was published in 1738. And let's see what he looks like now. 1738 to the present time. Oh, George Washington reincarnated. You know, look at this foolish. This one they try to make the same picture. You see him out here riding a horse lifted up, you know, on his hind legs as well. They redid the whole thing and made him look like George Washington on the horse. Frederick Augustus II, 1670, 1733, Elector of Saxony, and King of Poland. We just seen and read the exact same thing. They redid it and lied and said he looked like who knows what. That's the devil. Uh, let's look at man for real. A history of the Vikings. They always show the Vikings. Everybody white, you know, but best believe there was definitely black Vikings as well. This is a history of the Vikings by Gwen Jones. The Welsh chroniclers, for example, made no such clear distinction. The Danes coming in by way of England and the Norwegians by way of Ireland were pretty well all black. So when you're talking about the Danes uh, and various other Vikings that came out of, you know, the theory, I'm gonna just put it like that. The Danes and those that came from the Danube River were so-called Danites. That's a theory. Can't prove it 100%, but you know, knowing that Dan was a seafaring people traveling around uh, areas of Europe and all over the place, they were leaving their names in various places. But that's a whole nother thing. But the Danes were coming by way of England and the Norwegians by way of Ireland. So out of England and Ireland, the Danes were all black. They call them black Gentiles, black Norse. And they're saying, "Oh, that just means they were sad." No, what? No, we're not going for that. All right. Uh you see down here it says the history of uh Gruffled a Canaan mentions both Danes and Norwegians, and the unknown author of Bradis Rombry makes brilliant, if fantastic, play with the pure white troop and the pure black troop of Denmark, but even of the generalization carries truth. So they had black Vikings and you had white Vikings, but they let you know that the black ones came out of Ireland and out of England, and they were known as the Black Gentiles or the Black Troop. All right. Here's another book here called From the Dark Ages to the Renaissance. This is chronicling history and artwork from 700 to 1599 AD. Let's look inside here real quick. You see Emperor Constantine laying on his deathbed, and look what he looked like. Now, notice here, if you see the guy here in the left hand corner, I don't know if you can see through my cursor, but let me see if I can. You see him right here? Oh, it still ain't showing. Oh, hold on. Once it changes, you see here? Look at his face. It looked like he got vitiligo, or he got, you know. But that's so. This is at the point where they were trying to bleach out the skin. Half his face is dark, then some of it's white. Look at this guy over here. He got a dark nose, everything else. But Constantine, they left alone. He left him alone. He's all dark, right? So if you're wondering about Constantine, dark skinned man, they look to try to start lighting up and doing the vandalism on those depictions right there. Here's another one here of King Vladimir. He's a 12th century king out of Kiev. Where are we hearing that Kiev? Where are we hearing that now? Over there in Ukraine. But look who the king was. You see him sitting down, them coming to bring tribute to him. Dark skinned man, got the afro, the whole nine. Now I'm gonna read you the caption at the top. It says the 12th century king Vladimir of Kiev arriving at Constantinople to receive formal instruction in Christianity from the patriarch. The king's conversion was quickly followed by that of the Russian elites and marked the birth of Orthodox Holy Russia. So when King Vladimir came, he got taught Christianity, and that's what brought forth Orthodox Christianity in Russia, thanks to a so-called Negro. Here's one more. Frederick, King Vladimir of Kiev. King Vladimir, right? That's why I said that the Renaissance, it got late over there into Russia. As our people were still ruling, you still see all the artwork. That's why we get most of the history of the Dark Ages coming from that region, because they still preserved it, for a time. Out of from Romania, Russia, we just seen in Poland, King Augustus, right? Here's one more. Frederick Barbarossa, out of the Holy Roman Empire. He was an emperor from 1155 until his death 35 years later in 1190. He was elected king of Germany in Frankfurt on the 4th of March in 1152 and crowned in Aachen on March 9th, 1152. He's crowned king of Italy on April 24th in 1155 in Pavia and emperor by Pope Adrian IV on the 18th of June in 1155. So he was a ruler in Germany and also a ruler in Italy. Frederick Barbarossa, and you see him, dark-skinned man, and you see even his subjects being dark-skinned sisters, right? I'm gonna stop there. Because that's just a light smattering of tip of the iceberg of the histories that's been hidden from us, that's been destroyed, that's been distorted. But it should help give everybody a head start in researching and understanding really the legacy of our people, man. So don't limit us with Black History Month just to say, okay, well, you remember what Martin did. You remember about there's a lot more that goes on to it. Secrets are being revealed. Time is being, maybe I'll do some more stuff later on down the line. But that's just a tip of the iceberg, a smattering of the information that has been hidden from us, man. We give all praise on it. Go ahead, man.
It's funny how they talk about they can time. Won't they time travel back then?
They don't want to go back there.
And if they did, if they put it on film, it wouldn't be us.
Right.
Yeah.
They made that big thing.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, so you see some of the hidden histories that's going on out there, man. So know that. Oh, brother. Oh yeah, all praises, man. Glad y'all got some good gems out the book, man. Anybody else that needs them, I gave y'all some reference books to check out too during the presentation. But anybody else need any other references? I know, email me, hit me up, we'll get to it. All right, so we're gonna close out from there. All praise, honor, glory to the Most High way. I'm at the water for everybody tuning in, supporting. Get up out of here, man. Shalom.